start recording now, Thomas, because now it's 15.
So I'll I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, be able to, right? Alrighty, yours is the floor. Good luck.
Okay. So, buenos días, ¿cómo estás? My name is Tomasz Poszytek, and I reached out to Norbert because I partially understood what he told. Nevertheless, I have to say that the first time I was visiting Mallorca, it was like over 8 years ago. I really fell in love in the island, and I was really thinking about moving in, but I never made up this decision. And well, finally, I'm still in Poland, but I love going to Mallorca. I've been there like 6 times already, and I'm in constant love with the island, with the people, with the atmosphere, environment, everything. So really, really beautiful place to live. So you should be really happy to be there. And so unfortunately, we can't meet in person. I'd love to be there in person, just to have the opportunity to visit the place again. But well, we need to stay as of today virtually because of the corona and those things. So nevertheless, I will do the presentation about the business processes automation with the Microsoft Power Platform. This is mainly about how to discover them and then how to automate the process that is being discovered. I'd like also to thank to the sponsors because, well, still, even though we are meeting virtually, this is always some kind of cost that organizers have to make, and having the sponsors even in these hard times is really a gold. So thank you very much. My name is Tomasz Poszytek. I am from Warsaw in Poland, so I'm living in capital. And I do work with the processes, with business processes for over 10 years, mainly with Power Automate lately, but it's always been Nintex and SharePoint Designer as well. So it's quite in history that I've been doing those processes. If you'd like to connect with me, you can go to aks.ms/Poszytek or simply scan this QR code, and this will open like a landing page with all the social media hyperlinks that you can find me. I encourage you to go to YouTube and subscribe to Twitter, and let's just connect and have discussion after. So I'll just now make a very brief introduction to RPA because I have cool demos, I think, to show. So I won't really focus on those slides. According to Gartner, just to give you this big picture so we are on the same side, the RPA market is now really growing. Like, even though that the RPA started, like the history of RPA started around 2000, 2003 when UiPath and Automation Anywhere and also Blue Prism were created. This market is now living its second life because it's like for 4 years already, more and more companies are discovering RPA as a tool to automate their own old legacy applications. And so this segment of digital processes is now being really growing rapidly. And so Gartner predicts that by 2033, this market is going to be worth by over $4 billion, which is huge. Sorry, $12 billion even. So that's a lot. Now, one very important thing that you have to see, where is it, is that we are currently having these leaders in RPA, which is, well, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. Obviously, like everyone who ever heard about RPA knows these companies. But there is also the Softomotive here. This is like quite an old slide from Q4 2019. The Softomotive is a company that Microsoft acquired in 2020. And then once they acquired this company, they then incorporated their tool into their RPA tool set. And now we have Power Automate Desktop, which I will be talking about later. So the benefits of RPA are, well, there is a set of benefits. Well, first of all, we are able to build the processes in a more reliable way. So we don't have a human agent who can click the wrong button or who can type in the wrong data. We have this program bot, which is always doing the same things over and over again, which is always happy, never frustrated, never complaining about doing this repetitive work. So this helps us to also increase employee happiness and satisfaction, because we can then move these employees to more challenging tasks, not to just copy paste data from Excel to SAP over and over again. This is also helping us to reduce costs and give us the insights about how the processes are running, what are the bottlenecks and things. And also with RPA, we are giving the governance and then more security over access to systems. So like there are many benefits on very different angles or different dimensions of how the business is operating. Now, an important thing about RPA is that these tools are working in two modes. So the attended or supervised, however you call it. That's the mode that I will be showcasing today, so that the bot is actually running on the machine of the user. User is in front of a machine and can grab a coffee and lay back and just observe how the bot is clicking on the interface of application. So these are the tasks, mainly the personal tasks that you just need to create a bot and trigger it with a button, for example, and then the bot, for example, is copying on your machine data from one system to another, instead of you, like employee. And then there is also the unattended or unsupervised mode of operation, which is mainly focused on this high scale of automation, like processing of bank inquiries or something like, that you have hundreds of parallel tasks. And these are running somewhere on the machine with even no terminal access, like virtual machines in Azure. And there cannot be anyone logged in because the bot is the only session active on the machine. And this can be, as said, like hundreds of parallel tasks, thousands of parallel tasks. It just depends on how many machines we have. Now, speaking about Power Platform itself and the Power Automate as a tool, we are now able, thanks to the AI Builder and the Power Automate, so the cloud flows as we know already, we're able not only to automate documents, images like files and processes which are that are connecting applications with digital APIs, but also we are able to involve in the processes the old applications without any other API or interface apart from the user interface, so just the application interface. And having also more than 400 connectors right now, we're really able to create a very sophisticated workflows using Power Automate. And still, if there is no endpoint or no digital, no pre-created connector for us, we can always create a custom connector, or we can simply use HTTP requests to access the custom endpoints. And so when speaking about the Power Automate desktop, so those RPA flows, we can say that this tool is actually meant to help companies to bridge those gaps between those modern applications that do have modern APIs, modern digital APIs, and those old legacy applications which are really not accessible in any other way apart from the user interface. So just a very brief story about the RPA in Microsoft. The Softomotive was founded in 2005. However, then in 2020, so right here, after all these years, Microsoft acquired this company. It was really, it was a good tool. It is still a good tool, very reliable and really working fine. And so Microsoft acquired a tool that was called Win Automation, and well, the whole company. And then they just turned the Win Automation into Power Automate Desktop, changing the interface, changing integration with the cloud, with Dataverse. And they just integrated this tool into their landscape. And now they're still working on to make it better and better. By the end of the March this year, they said that they will map one-to-one all the functionalities of the old Win Automation into Power Automate Desktop. And I guess that starting March, they will be adding new functionalities to help this integration with Dataverse, with the Power Platform, be even better. And now, when thinking about identifying processes, Microsoft didn't have any kind of tool until December 2020. And that day, that month, they released or announced that they are now having a new tool called Process Advisor. So with the processes that we have in companies, there is always this challenge that we might know that we do have a processes. However, we have no idea how they actually run, who is the owner, who executes them, how they are looking, what are the bottlenecks, how complex are they, how many steps do they have, how much time do they need to complete, and like hundreds of questions. Like we know possibly that we have an invoice coming to a front desk and someone has to scan it and then maybe put this data into some kind of a form, then approve it and so on. But usually in companies that do not have yet their digital journey so advanced as huge corporations, or even those huge corporations, there might be processes just being done by employees for years in this unstructured way. And when we would like to somehow identify them, discover them, get more insights about them, there is like no tool to actually help companies to do so. And so Microsoft created Process Advisor that in 5 steps is able to deliver a lot of information about these processes that we suspect that they exist, but we don't know the details about how they actually look like. So first we need to create like the new process, then we need to share this process with the employees, with like department, with the team, with a group of employees from different departments that are possibly involved in this process. Then each of those employees have to record how they are doing their processes or that process, then put notes and comments and some like more details around this recording. And finally, the process owner, so the one who created it, has to analyze it. And therefore, the process advisor is going to give a lot of insights on how this all works. I'll just show you in a minute or two. So just a couple of requirements that the machine has to have, and this is speaking both about the Process Advisor and Power Automate Desktop, so the RPA, because all these tools are actually working on the same engine. So first, user who is creating the process or is using the Process Advisor, they need to have either trial or paid Power Automate plan per user plan with attended RPA. Next, we need to have work or school account. It doesn't work with home licenses. And also the account that is working on the machine needs to have local administrator privileges. We need to have Windows 10 Pro or higher, but always the enterprise, like the Pro, the commercial version, not the home edition or educative edition. Also Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome or Firefox, or also Internet Explorer is working somehow, but I don't recommend using Internet Explorer. And lastly, we need to have Power Platform environment that does have the Dataverse database, because everything that we are doing is being saved and logged into Dataverse tables. Now, a couple of prerequisites. We need to download and install Power Automate Desktop application, which will then inject, let's say, the browser extension into selected browsers like Firefox, Edge, and Chrome. We will also get and will be able to use this Power Automate Desktop Steps Recorder, so the application that is used to actually record and create flows. And finally, we need to have the on-premises data gateway, which is used as a server that is being contacted by the Power Automate, which triggers RPA. So the Power Automate sends a request to on-premises data gateway. Then on-premises data gateway actually process that request, trigger RPA. RPA is doing its job, and then RPA is returning information to the gateway, and then gateway is sending this back to the process which triggered this whole workflow. So the gateway is this middleware to help in communication and also in processing requests between the cloud and the local machine. As you might know, this is also used for Power BI and other connectors which do need to have access to on-premises data like SQL Server or SAP or whatever. All right, and having that said, I will now go and start a demo. I think I should fit with all these tasks. So first step, we know that the process exists, but we don't know how it looks like. So first we have to discover the process. For that, once you navigate to Power Automate portal, you'll find this Process Advisor tab, and underneath you'll find two options, or options. The create, so where you can create a new process. You can just simply define it by a name and a description. And then where you have a list of all the processes that were created and that you as the user have an access to. So this is the adult ones that has an access, even though I have removed the access, but whatever. That's the admin view. Admin sees a list of all the processes. And also I can go now right now, and then I will grant the Adele the access. Maybe I guess I haven't refreshed the window there. And then when inviting other employees to collaborate in this recording, in showing how they are doing the steps. First, what you have to do is to define either they are going to be contributors or the owners. Now, the next step, let me just move it here. Now, the next step that you have to do is to, well, obviously share it. And then the person who is invited can go now to their processes. Now, this should all look fine, okay? And they can add a new recording. So now, right now, because I'm showing you the Adele Vance interface, she doesn't see any other recording apart from her, because she's not the owner, she's just the co-author or contributor. So she'll see only her recordings. Now, once I hit the new recording and then open the recorder, this will actually open a piece of Power Automate Desktop, which is called a desktop recorder. So now you can see that the Power Automate Desktop is being opened. And yep, that's her account. Oh gosh, what was the password? Okay, fine. And so once I sign in, I will simply see this piece that is called desktop recorder. So now Adele has to simply start the recording. And now everything that she is doing is being recorded. So first she will open like a document, the invoice. Let's assume that the invoice came from the email. And so her job is now to register this invoice into the CRM system that is called the Contoso invoicing. So she'll open the Contoso invoicing as well. And now what she has to do, because the Contoso invoicing actually requires the information to be stored in dollars. Therefore, she needs to go and take this total amount and, for example, go to, I don't know, maybe these, just change it to actual values, PLN to USD, so that some kind of currency converter. Gosh, Google would do it, sorry. Google would definitely do it. Or maybe not. Okay, anyways, let me just check the first possible currency converter. So I'll just use this value. And then she's able to put this value here as the information that is required. Then she can navigate back to the tool and copy who is the account, what is the account, and as for the contact, it's never easy to know. So as you can see, Adele is now doing her process, but she does a lot of additional things which are not necessarily required. And let's say it's invoiced and save and close. So right now there is a lot of steps being recorded. I can be sure that lots of them are really not necessary, but that is her job now, to review these steps and maybe remove some of them. So now once she hit finish, in a moment there will be a new window popping up with information that this recording that she just had done, like you can see, is being saved. Now this saving is happening and is being done to the Dataverse. So that can take a moment, hopefully in a few minutes. Not that window, sorry. So now she could go and view the recording if it is saved, but it's still being saved. So now it's done. So Adele should see her recording. It's still in progress. But maybe she's already able now. She's not yet able to see it. So I'll just give it another moment to have this process completed. Okay, now it's done. So the next step that Adele has to do is to actually go to this list of actions and review them. Here she can remove the steps that she thinks are not really necessary. Here she can as well remove screenshots, so that maybe the recorder made a screenshot of an application that she wouldn't like to share with the process owner, because that might be her private information or some confidential information. The same thing with the description. So here she can as well like remove information like the text, and because she doesn't want to release this information to the process owner, she just want to have those general steps. So that's her moment to actually like re-author this process, remove all the confidential private information. And once she's done, once she's happy with this processing, she then has to actually add these groups, so called the activities. And the activities are helping then the process advisor to tell how much time it needed to make a specific step on to complete a specific set of actions. So first step is going to be first activity. Again, she can create her own activities, or she can use the activities already created by other users. If she's using the activities from other users, then the analyzing the result of the process advisor is going to be more insightful, because it will show how much time the same activity is needing across all the department, all these testing set of users. If she creates her own activity, then this will be like a different variant with different time, and it won't be that much helpful for the process owner. So first, she'll open the invoice document. Then, let's say here, like it was here, she is opening the Contoso application. Next, somewhere here, let's say, she is opening or inputting the information and creating new invoice. Right here, I can add this set of actions for converting currency. There is no such step, so I'll create my own. And then possibly here, no, not still, let's say here, she is now inputting this data into the form, and I don't know, maybe somewhere here, let's say this is already the save invoice, and that's done. So now the next step she has to do is to save this recording, and once that's done, mark that is ready for analyzing. And that's actually end of the story of Adele, so like of those users who are invited to contribute or collaborate on the process advisor. Now then, the process owner sees that there is a new recording already added, and that it is in the status ready to analyze. So what the owner can do is hit this button, analyze. This will just now take another moment to make it ready, to have it ready. All right, it's being analyzing. And now it's analyzed. So the last step that now the process owner has to do is to go into analytics to review what actually this process looks like across all these 8 recordings that have been done by the different users in the tenant. This part is actually loading at the Power BI with a custom visualizations made by Microsoft, I think. That is meant to deliver the insights for the owner. Just let it load. Okay, and the first tab is the process map. That actually shows the information how different variants of the same process look like, how much time these variants require to complete, how often a specific variant occurs. So like how many users actually completed their process following the same set in the same order. And the graph here is being loaded, which actually shows how these variants look like in a graphical way. And right, just let's give it a moment. Okay, so now this process map, it tells me that, for example, the most common variant was the one from like the opening invoices, then creating the new invoice, then filling the form, then saving the invoice. I can see that that one of the variants was as well to convert currency. So I can assume that there was like a currency, sorry, the invoice in a different currency than the CRM. And so I can see how those variants were actually working. So like the first variant, so the one possibly with the Adele, was that she opened the invoice and she went to open the Contours application. Then she went to open invoice document, and like we can see like how these variants were actually looking like. And also we see the information, how much time it took to complete this specific set of actions. So what I can tell is that the filling invoice was quite long, 30 seconds, but converting currency was over 50 seconds. So then if we somehow try to extrapolate this information on the level of how many invoices we have per month and how many employees are actually required to process these invoices, we can calculate how much time we could potentially save if we build this process as an RPA or as a digital process. And then the time analysis is actually delivering us information like how much time it took for each of the activities to complete. And then possibly where are the bottlenecks, like which of these activities are the longest, which are the shortest, where can we have the biggest savings, because maybe we don't need to like convert the whole process into a digital process. Maybe we can just need to convert a specific step to make it more fluent and flexible. So this is what the process advisor is. So right now I do have information that I have a process for invoices registration. And so the solution for that could be that now the process designer, the person who does the process, would think, okay, so I need to have a workflow that will help me to first upload the invoice, maybe to identify the information that is on this invoice. And then if the invoice is in different currency, to get the currency converter to get the value in the dollars, and then to automatically fill in this information into CRM. But hey, the CRM that we are using is so old, it doesn't have any kind of API. So we are not able to use just Power Automate to simply send this data with a post request, but we need to actually incorporate RPA as well. And so the first step would be in this process. So we are building the application that will help the users to actually upload their invoice and have it analyzed. So there is a simple invoice that the front desk could have, that they would need to simply upload the invoice scanned elsewhere. And so right now the AI builder that is underneath, that is trying to identify this invoice, is going to actually identify fields on it, and then later we'll be able to pass them to workflow, so they will be just a part of the flow. So it had identified the information. I need as well to change the currency and simply send it for approval. Now, what would happen in this process is, for example, okay, now the accountancy team should have this invoice reviewed and approve it before it is actually reaching the CRM, because before it is saved into CRM. So the next step the process designer can do is to create this approval. For this purpose, I actually am using the channel in Microsoft Teams, and I'm sending this adaptive card with information about the invoice, is details, the items that are on the invoice, and with a request to either approve or reject. So now, oh no, my Edge crashed. No worries, we are working in the cloud, everything is saved, so there shouldn't be any issue. So right now, the accountancy team is able to approve this invoice. And what will happen once I hit the approve is that the workflow that first posted this adaptive card for approval, and I was waiting to get this information approved or rejected, is going to trigger RPA that will work on my local machine and will actually try to follow the same steps. So now I, as the, let's say, Power Platform admin, I can go to another section in Power Automate. It's called the monitor, and then to desktop flow query, queues. Here I can see that my test data gateway that I have installed somewhere has one flow in queue. So now once I go into it and I switch these live updates, I will be able to see like how many flows for this robot on that machine or under that gateway are waiting for execution. I also see their status. Like if there were more flows, I would see that one is running, the other one is next to run, the other one is queued, for example. So in this case, the flow that was just triggered by the RPA has been put into the running mode. Now, if under this gateway there were more machines, because you can create like a cluster that I will just show in a moment once I'm back to slides. So you can like put many machines under the same gateway, which will create a cluster. Then the gateway is being an orchestrator for these processes. So it can then spread all these requests that are coming in to the free machine, the free bot that is waiting for the work to pick up and process. Now, because RPA is not a digital endpoint, therefore it is very rarely being triggered like ad hoc, like once you hit the button, then 10 seconds and the process is running. So on my machine, it's usually taking around a minute and a half to start execution of this process. When I'm doing the RPA processes on the virtual machines, which have a better internet connection and better parameters, then it is like 30 seconds, sometimes even 15 seconds. But nevertheless, it's not an ad hoc process. It also requires a couple of moments for the RPA to trigger and to start doing what it's doing. So I hope, okay, I see that there is a timer. Okay, so you can see the browser has been triggered. And now what the bot is going to do is actually to convert the currency from the Polish zloty to dollars. So now it should start changing the currencies. Hopefully it won't fail today. I re-triggered it like a moment ago and it was working fine. So I keep my fingers crossed it won't crash. But it's not looking promising, to be honest.
That's what the live demos do, don't worry.
No, damn it, it failed. No, I don't have an idea why, to be honest, because as said, it was like running fine just a moment ago. So when I go now to desktop flow runs in the monitor, it's still running, but no, that one failed. So that was like another one triggered because the architecture of this process is that the parent flow here, which actually triggered this workflow, is called this child RPA, and this flow is triggered by the one which posted an adaptive card. And so because the one that posted adaptive card hasn't heard from the child flow that it has completed, therefore it is now triggering it again because it is still waiting to get this response. So we can give it another try. If it fails, I will simply maybe resubmit the flow or run it just locally on my machine to show you how it works and how this is built. So yeah, I'll just turn these live updates on so that I won't need to refresh it manually. So now hopefully in just another couple of seconds, this will trigger and maybe this time it will work. So the funniest thing about the RPA, all these processes that we are designing using the Power Platform is that they really require a lot of debugging and testing before we are really sure that they're working errorless. And so the more complex and sophisticated processes, no matter if it's RPA or if it is just a cloud flow, then it requires a lot of more time to debug and to be sure that it is doing what we want it to do. And it's doing that in this, let's say, reliable way. With RPA, the point is that everything that the bot is doing is based on the UI selector. So the bot has to actually know that this specific field on the interface, oh, now it's working, that this specific field on the interface has this specific DOM path, or that this specific field in the desktop application has a known and identified UI path to like find it and then be able to reach it as a bot. So, okay, enough of this demo. So that worked. The data was converted. The data was then saved into RPA, and it took the bot. Where is this original process? So that's the child RPA. Sorry. That's done. So in total, it took the whole process with the approval with AL reader conversion around 7 minutes. Now, I'm nearly sure that a trained employee could do it faster, but this can be done like immediately one after another, and the employee will always lose some time on doing additional tasks and so on. Therefore, you can say that instead of having the same process done like in 10 minutes or in 15 minutes, we can do it in half the time, so we can save like half FTE on employees' work time because we transform this to RPA. And so now how the RPA looks like. The part of my desktop application is built from two parts. So first is the list of all the workflows that are created in a specific environment. And then there is a designer. Designer is built, just let it load. Now, because the point why this is loading so long, you might ask, is because the data is stored in Dataverse. So right now, the desktop recorder, the part of my desktop, has to actually download all these definition from Dataverse and convert it from JSON or from, basically it's JSON into this working, visible process. Come on, don't put me down. Okay.
5 minutes, Tomasz.
Really? Okay, so just speed up. Not 8? So the process that the desktop recorder is done this way, that first you have all these actions where you can just drag and drop onto the designer canvas. And here you just define what steps the bot should do. And now what I mentioned is that the most important thing about these steps the bot is doing, like how does it know where to click, where to put data, are these selectors here. And so the selector actually defines the path that the bot should follow to find this specific input field on the interface. So it like contains information about the class, about the title, about the application, about the process name, and so on and so on. And also the screenshot to help you then remember what was the field it was used in the first place. You're also able to define the input values and the output values. So the input from Power Automate, from the Cloudflow, and then information is being sent back. And now I will not show you how it is done to design the flow because I don't have time. You can see it in my YouTube channel, please. Ouch. No, go away. Sorry. The point is that once you want to trigger then the RPA process from your cloud process, you need to use this action that is called run a flow built by Power Automate Desktop. And this action actually lets you to pass input parameters, define if it should run in attended or unattended mode, also define the priority. So like if there is a queue and there are more processes waiting, then this with highest priority will be triggered as the first one. And finally, if there is any data returned by the Power Automate Desktop, then you can also read it as the dynamic outcomes. All right, so now just me switch back to the presentation because I just have one more or two more slides. So I told you about the on-premise data gateway that can run as a cluster, so as an orchestrator. If you put it as, if you select this option here when you register a new gateway on the machine, then it will build a cluster. The second thing that you have to know is the licensing. So if you ever want to try, you can start the trial, Or if you don't have a trial already available, then you need to start with this per user plan with an RPA. This will let you to trigger like a bot on your local machine. And then if you have flows that are running company-wide and that you would like to trigger in unattended mode, then you have to buy this license by flow, so minimum 500 for 5 flows, and therefore they will be a license to be run by the whole company, no matter how many employees it has. And then you need as well to purchase this unattended RPA add-on. This is installed or like added to a specific environment, and then in this environment, one bot can be triggered in this unattended mode. And so if you would like to start this journey yourself, if you would like to try RPA, how it works, then you can go into aka.ms/RPA in a day. These are the RPA in a day labs, which will guide you through like 9 or 10 labs and let you better understand how this whole process is being done, how you can use this tool in your company. Wow. So, are there any questions?
Wonderful, Thomas, and right on time. That's efficiency.
I see no questions.
But also everybody has your contact data in social in order to contact you directly.
Yep.
Right. So.
Thank you, Thomas.
I'm also going to add the survey here on the right. Exactly. And then edit the survey also. And thank you very much for your session. I'm going to stop.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much.